I was 18 when it happened, my first St. Patrick's Day as a legal adult. I was out late with friends, all of us in green, laughing and stumbling through the city. We'd planned ahead and taken the train so no one would have to drive. By the time we left, the streets were deserted. The city's energy was spent. We boarded the last train together, still buzzing from the night. One by one, my friends got off at their stops, leaving me alone for the last leg. I waved goodbye and stepped onto the empty platform. The silence pressed in around me. The walk home was eerie. Every block felt emptier than the last. I tried to convince myself it was just the hour, just the holiday. But something about the stillness made my skin crawl. Near my apartment, I spotted a car parked along the curb. No lights, engine off, but faint, discordant music drifted from inside. The car was parked facing the wrong way, directly toward me. I kept my head down and walked wide, heart thumping. As I passed, the window rolled down with the slow, mechanical whine. I didn't look. I just walked faster, trying to act like I hadn't noticed. Then I heard the car door open. I didn't dare turn around. My mind raced. Maybe it was nothing. Maybe I was just being paranoid. But the footsteps behind me sped up, closing the gap. Suddenly, a hand clamped around my arm, yanking me backward. Before I could scream, another hand pressed over my mouth. I was dragged toward the car. Panic blurred my vision. He forced me into the back seat, whispering threats and telling me to stay quiet. My mind went blank except for one thought. Get out! I clawed at the door handle over and over, even though it wouldn't budge. The car started moving. My heart hammered. I tried the handle again. This time, it clicked open. I tumbled out, hitting the pavement hard, scraping my knees and palms. Adrenaline pushed me to my feet. I ran, not daring to look back, until I collided with a stranger on the sidewalk. He steadied me, confused and half-drunk. But when I gasped out what happened, he brought me into a nearby store and called the police. At the hospital, I told them everything I remembered. The man's age, his glasses, the make of his car. But nothing ever came of it. He vanished into the night, never caught. Every year since, St. Patrick's Day brings it all back. The fear, the helplessness, the way my optimism almost cost me everything. I survived, but I'm never really at ease in the dark anymore. St. Patrick's Day always made me uneasy, but that year, it turned into something I'll never forget. I'd just finished a week out of town for work. Exhausted and still in my uniform, I caught the bus back into the city. The closer we got to downtown, the more the bus filled with rowdy crowds. Everyone was dressed in green, shouting and laughing. Then it hit me. Of course, it was St. Patrick's Day. I wasn't in the mood to celebrate, but the energy was infectious. When a group of partygoers got off at a busy stop, I followed, thinking maybe a drink would help me unwind. The bars were packed. The music was too loud, the air thick with spilled beer and sweat. I tried to join in, but everyone seemed to be in their own world. Eventually, I gave up on socializing and just sat at the bar, drinking until the room spun. When closing time came, I paid my tab and stumbled out into the night, surrounded by strangers in various states of drunkenness. I was alone, weaving through the crowd, when I noticed a group of men watching me. They started making comments, mocking me for not wearing green. Their voices grew louder and more aggressive. I tried to ignore them and order a ride home on my phone, but the wait was long. I circled the block, hoping they'd lose interest, but they followed. Their taunts turned into threats. Suddenly, one of them lunged. I barely saw the punch coming. I hit the ground, dazed as they closed in. I tried to shield myself, but it was useless. They kicked and hit me, laughing and calling me names. I faded out, the world going black. When I came to, it was daylight. I was stripped of everything, my wallet, phone, even my clothes. They dragged me behind a dumpster and left me to wake up alone and humiliated. I crawled out, desperate for help. Someone passing by tossed me a jacket and called for an ambulance. At the hospital, I was treated for bruises and a concussion. The worst part came later. A family member sent me a link to a video online. My attack had been filmed and shared. Strangers laughed at my pain. It went viral before I even knew it existed. The police eventually identified some of the attackers, but not all. Most got away. Since then, I can't see St. Patrick's Day as anything but a reminder of how quickly things can turn, how a crowd can become a mob, and how easily you can be left behind. I didn't go out that St. Patrick's Day. I stayed home, restless, tossing and turning in bed. At some point, I must have drifted off, but I woke with a jolt, sharp pain slicing through my arm. I sat up, clutching a bleeding gash I didn't remember getting. My bedroom door was wide open, and I heard heavy footsteps retreating down the hall. Panic set in. I was supposed to be alone. I reached for my phone, but it was missing from the charger. Whoever was in the house must have taken it. My mind raced. Should I hide, run, or confront whoever was out there? I forced myself out of bed, dizzy from the blood loss and fear, and crept to the doorway. The hallway was dark and silent. I listened, straining to catch any sound. Then, from somewhere below, a guttural, almost animalistic noise echoed up, a mix of a sob and a growl. It was coming from the basement. I hesitated, thinking maybe a family member had come home early and gotten hurt. Against every instinct, I moved toward the basement door. The light down there flickered erratically, casting strange shadows across the stairs. I tried the switch, but the strobing continued, making it hard to see. I heard a voice, soft, trembling, impossible to understand. I called out, but got no answer. At the bottom of the stairs, I froze. In the center of the basement, under the flickering bulb, was a figure crouched with its back to me. It was small, oddly proportioned, dressed in tattered green. My mind tried to make sense of it. It looked like a leprechaun, but not the kind from fairy tales. This thing was twisted, unhealthy, wrong. I whispered, asking who it was. It turned, and its face was nothing human. Its eyes locked onto mine, and I couldn't move. I couldn't breathe. Then its body began to contort, bones cracking as it grew, stretching to match my height. It never stood fully upright, instead hanging from the rafters with one hand. The other reached for me, impossibly long fingers curling around my arm. Its jaw unhinged, revealing rows of jagged teeth. I was rooted in place, unable to scream or fight back. The last thing I saw was its mouth opening wider, darkness swallowing me whole. I jerked awake in my bed, drenched in sweat, heart racing. For a moment, I thought it was just a nightmare. But when I looked at my arm, the wound was gone, replaced by a thin, pale scar I'd never had before. I tried to brush it off, but the fear lingered. When I mentioned it to neighbors, some laughed it off, but others grew quiet, sharing their own strange stories about something lurking in the neighborhood. Every year since, that night haunts me. A reminder that some things can follow you out of dreams,